To make a long story short, some neighbors of mine had been on the Israel ride and started talking it up. And they said, go to israelride.org and check it out. And I went, oh, and I went out and signed up. And just to put this in context, I then went out and bought a bicycle. So, so I started cycling and hadn't had a bicycle in 20, 30 years or whatever the case may be. And it was a personal goal of mine to be able to ride the mileage. I knew I could do the half day as a first goal. And then my second goal was to ride the full day with the 50-mile day with the Tzofim group. And I just started pedaling and building up my mileage 1 mile at a time. Meanwhile, I started going to parlor events, information sessions about the Israel ride. Because for me, initially, it was just a bike ride. And being in Israel was a bonus. And I got to meet some of the alumni, and I can remember it quite vividly because it was that moment at that meeting where I was, where I fell in love with the Arava Institute. There was a story that stood out in my mind of two students or two alumni were at an international environmental conference. And, you know, as part of the Arava Institute, it's always an Israeli and a Palestinian paired together, or Jordanian and, you know, whatever, but it's always in pairs because it's about the cooperation. So they were at this conference and a fight broke out between the Turkish representative and the Greek representative. And I think a knife was drawn. This is an academic conference. And so the entire conference was thrown into tizzy. They pulled people, you know, apart and everything. And what really got to me was the conference organizers turned to the Israeli and the Palestinian delegates from the Arava Institute to help save the conference. Because if the Israeli and the Palestinian student could come and represent the region together, they had something to offer to resolve this conflict in another part of the world, neighbors. But that's what really grabbed me, and I really wanted to find out what that magic power was that the Arava Institute had that enabled people to bridge their differences and work together and to get to know each other as human beings. And this is my third bike back here. Actually, it's courtesy of LL because they broke my second bike. But I've been riding consistently. It's really changed my health and my well-being and my engagement with the world at large, not only to Israel, but out there when I'm pedaling. Do a lot of mileage, and it really has defined me at this stage in my life in terms of, you know, what I do for recreation and that sort of thing. It also, given my passion and my love affair, has drawn me into the Friends of the Arava Institute. And maybe because I can't keep my mouth shut, I was invited onto the board several years ago. And so I have that also as part of my passions to help raise money and raise commitment, friend-raising and fundraising for the Arava Institute here in the Philadelphia area. I guess I have a couple of memories that really resonate with me, some personal and some geographic. The personal memories is that we become a community of sorts that gets together once a year or so. There are people who return to the ride every year or every couple of years, and there are new people every ride. And also the staff and the students and the alumni. And I really very much enjoy reconnecting with the folks, whether they're North Americans or international folks or Israelis, checking in with them once a year in another world, face to face, is just phenomenal. I feel like I have friends and connections, all over, and especially in Israel. I just love finding out what happens to the students and the alumni and the faculty and whatnot, on an installment basis like that. Geographically, Mizpeh Ramon is in the Machtesh, and Sde Boker are probably my most favorite places on earth. Just riding into those environments and being able to soak them up, either at a rest stop or on Shabbat at Mizpeh Ramon, or just riding through the desert at 10 or 15 miles an hour and just having a chance to just really absorb what's going on around me. And those are my, I guess my key memories. Was a narrative, and I've heard it over and over again, from the students and the alumni. And the basic structure of the narrative goes something like this. I never met an ex, never met a Palestinian, never met a Muslim, never met an Israeli, never met a Jew. I never met an ex, always heard things about them, but never met them. Had this image in my mind. And now, having gone to the Arba Institute, have been roommates, classmates, doing laundry together. I now count this person, these people, as being my friends and my family. And I've been to their homes and they've been to my homes. And that template that I've heard over and over again about just bringing people together has this incredibly powerful force. And the environment might be the bridge that they can come across, but once they're across, they begin to see each other as human beings with shared values, shared goals, and hopes and desires and all that stuff, and fears too. Planning on being in Israel this year because I was going to stay put for the election. I'm involved in the local Democratic Party, getting out the votes and things like that, and felt that I needed to have boots on the ground. So I wasn't going to go, even though this was my year to go. And now I can, virtually. So I feel excited that I can at least connect somehow with the Arba Institute and the ride, and I got to see some faces on the happy hour, and there'll be other virtual events that I can wave to people and say hello to. But I'm not quite sure. Other than that, it's just a big unknown. It's an opportunity to connect and make the best of this weird world we live in now. I don't have much to offer, in that regard. But I have to say that I really enjoy. I've already connected by email with somebody who used to live in Philadelphia. So he was registered as I reached out to all the Philadelphia alumni as a team captain for the area. And his information was still connected to Philly, even though now he lives in Oregon. So it was fun to kind of reconnect with him. And I'm sure I'll see him at some point on a virtual event. It's kind of a neat opportunity to learn how to build community in this strange world we live in. The food on the Israel ride is just phenomenal, and it's just a highlight of the event. And some say, well, it's because you're outside, you're bicycling all day. No, I just think it's good food because it's the distance between the farm and the table is so much shorter, and all that good stuff goes along with it as well. But you eat really well on the Israel ride. Oh, I lost 6 pounds. And somebody else wrote back on the Facebook page, I found them.